Originally, when I lived in Burns many years ago, before I moved here, I was involved with city planning. I was on the city. I worked for the city of Burns and was there for 7 years. I was the city recorder, treasurer, and municipal judge there. And I was also a part of the original Senate Bill 100 when land use planning came into being here for Oregon. I stayed involved when I first came to Bend. I worked for the school district for 23 years. Was very involved in budgets. I worked for the administration and was on the city's planning commission, and then was elected to the Bend City Council. I've been serving on and off now for 22 years. Those are not consecutive terms. There were a lot of interruptions in there for one reason or another. We have a lot of key projects that we're working on right now, and I want to follow through on those, and I would like to be re-elected because I think there's some crucial things for the future of Bend that are important.
I got into public service for a number of reasons, and I say in the past, even though I've never been elected to a position, because I've been working within the community for nonprofit organizations and for individuals for a long time. For a while I was involved in Libertarian Party politics, and I was chair of the local county party, and I was on the state board at the same time for a couple of years. And I became disillusioned with politics, as I was when I entered that party. But about 7 years ago, I woke up one morning and said, you know, I live in Bend. I've lived here for 22 years now. And I decided that I really didn't know much about Bend, and I wasn't as effective in what I wanted to do as I could be. And I really figured out, it took me a long time to figure out that you could be more effective in the place that you live. So that's when I started becoming active in community radio, community service with different organizations. I don't like to mention names of organizations necessarily, but I've hosted about 20 blood drives in the last 5 years. And that means I wear all the hats. So actually, the official title is chair of blood drives. I mean, you have to go out and get all the schedule full and get the blood flowing, set up the venue, all that. But in a larger perspective, I believe that we are in an economic and environmental crisis, and this is my way of raising the attention of our community to issues of growth and debt and, quite frankly, survival. Because I do believe that we're at a time, a very scary time, and for a very long time I believe our government, even our local government, has largely not given attention to it.
I've been resident since '84, and my family's actually been vacationing here since the early 20s. And I decided to run for city council. It's something I think I've been looking at as long as I've been here. And I think I've done a lot of things that sort of support my strengths and would make me a great city council person. You know, I served on the planning commission, gave me a great base. I started a lot of local non-profit sort of groups and organizations. CODA started a lot of mountain bike races that still exist and understand the role of those entities to support the economy. And this event is now doing so incredibly well. Cascade Festival Music, another different way of just strengthening and enriching the economy. And then I worked on the Galveston revitalization plan to take that corridor, address some environmental issues that catch the storm water coming down and keep it from going into the chutes, make it a safe place for pedestrians and bicycles, and create a really vital environment that businesses can thrive in and that will draw people into that neighborhood. So those are some of the things that really interest me and that have helped me sort of engage and I think prepare really to sit on the council. This is an interesting place for me because I really didn't think I'd be running for city council now. I mean, I had it in my sights, but a friend came to me on the street and and said to me, yeah, I've been thinking about, think global, act local. And I've been thinking sort of more global. And the next day, a group of friends came to me and said, we think you should run for city council. And I thought, okay, maybe this is the moment. So my concerns really is that the city is really at this crossroads where we're at the depth of the depressions. My neighbors are just losing their house now. And our renters are arguing over the $25 dollar raise in the water bills. We have some huge infrastructure issues. We have some commitments to projects that seem to be completely unnecessary. We have some other infrastructure projects, that really need attention right now. And we have, all these, huge demands for taxpayer funds. And the question is, how do we get from here to there, and how we just get through here in a healthy place, that keeps our town thriving and economically viable and financially healthy heading into the future. So that's why I'm sitting here with all of you today.
Good question, and this is probably one of the most often brought up topics when I'm out there. I honestly don't understand why we haven't, so unless there's something going on behind closed doors, I don't know if that's preventing us. I just can't say, and I'm not going to be critical of that, but obviously we've been putting off that decision too long. My understanding is that we probably should have done the dredging by now, but I'm not aware of the costs or the logistics, so I'm not going to comment too strongly on that, but I do believe that we do need to get it done. This is a high priority.
This is one of those issues, and I think the reason it hasn't been addressed before now is it's more complex than meets the eye. I think you can agree that Mirror Pond is a center point and a centerpiece for our community. Something needs to be done. If you look at it, you have flows that shift into the Chutes River, and so you're going to continue to have a siltation. Did I just say that wrong? Siltation. Problem. And so I think the approach that now is going on, where you're bringing in a group of stakeholders, because you not only, of course, have the Colorado Bridge, and you have the irrigation water flows that change, but you also have the Pacific Power Dam, and then you have the outtake down below. So you've got, so even if you do, fix one piece here, number one, how you're going to address it long term, how you're going to minimize costs long term, and is dredging right now really the best, most efficient, smartest long-term solution for Mirror Pond without addressing some of the upstream issues, and make sure whatever solutions take place in Mirror Pond, let's make sure that we don't just throw the problem back in somebody else's yard down the river. So I like the fact that they actually have a citizen stakeholders committee that are addressing it, and I'm a really big believer in when you pull people together from lots of different backgrounds and lots of different viewpoints, then you can find a solution that's more creative than something that I could put on the table for you today. But it definitely needs to be addressed. I think you always want to ask questions, you always want to understand, you always need to know the ramifications short-term and long-term. And I think that's our responsibility, when any group comes in and suggests any proposal.
Okay. Well, probably, as you all know, this is not just a city issue, and it's not the city of Bend that's going to come up with a solution. It has to be brought together by all of the parties that are involved in it. The Parks and Rec District is a huge piece of that. The people that own the river, underneath the river, is going to be a big part of that. PP&L is going to be a part of that. This whole community has to be involved with the solution. The city of Bend is just a piece of that. It's not our solution. So what they come up with, I would be fine if they came up with to take the dam out and let it come back as a natural river. I think we need to do something now. And we keep putting this off, and most of it is because of the cost. Like I said, it's not a city of Bend issue, so the community has to come up with the dollars to do that. Back in the early 80s, when we dredged it the last time, it cost maybe $200,000 or $300,000 to do that, and that was a huge dollar amount when we did it then. and we dredged it, and unfortunately, it came back, the silt came back. What I would like to see is a permanent solution to the silting problem and eliminate that so we don't have to do this again in the future. So I'd like to find one solution that will be a permanent solution, whether that means moving the sludge out of there and doing some different flows. I would be in favor of doing that so that we don't have to do this again. But because of the environmental impacts that we have now in place, it's going to take a huge amount of money to just study the issue, not just to have the solution. So we're looking at millions and millions of dollars, and how we fund that is going to be crucial. It's got to be done by the whole community, not just the city of Bend. I think the city could put some funds towards that, but at this point, it's got to be done by the community and whatever they come up with.
Do you see this as a vote scenario?
I think it's possible that we could do a general obligation bond or a levy of some type, some kind of a levy, so that this is a community-wide solution. It's not just city taxpayers, parks and rec taxpayers, or the private ownership. Before we did it with the private people that lived along the river, they helped pay for that at that time. So now it has to be a community-wide solution. It's a focal point of Bend. People come here just to see that river or the pond, Muir Pond. We do a lot of events down there. The whole thing has to be a community-wide thing.